Yes. Greetings from fourth period, friends.
Yes.
Yeah!
I'm on YouTube now.
Yeah, you're famous. Okay, all right. Shh. So we are learning how to translate statements that we're going to hear out in the wild, so to speak, beyond the confines of our logic book, and learning what do we do with particular types of statements. We talked about 3 types of statements yesterday: indefinite, particular, and conditionals. And today we're going to talk about inclusive and exclusive statements. And I could be really wrong about this. I don't think you guys are going to struggle with this particularly much. There's only 2 kinds of statements, and they both get translated basically the same kind of way. And I think we got this. So again, if it's underlined and in bold, you should write that down. If it's not, don't worry about it. So there are 2 kinds of ordinary English statements that we've got to talk about before we sort of wrap up this mini unit. And that is what we call inclusives and exclusives. So take the statement, you should do whatever I say. So it's not all you are a person who should do whatever I say. Okay? It's not that. The problem that you're having is because you've not learned what to do when you meet an inclusive. So what is an inclusive? An inclusive is a word, often what we call a relative pronoun or adverb, that refers to a broad range of things or times. So the word whatever is what we call an inclusive. Now, if whatever is an inclusive, and given that definition, what do you think some other inclusives are? Weaver? Whenever. Whatever, whenever. Jackson? No, Jackson, you're Sam. However, whatever, whenever, however.
Whoever.
Whatever, whenever, however, whoever.
Whatever.
I don't know if that's a word, but you guys got the idea, right? You know what they all have, most of them have in common? Ever. Okay? So you might call inclusives ever words. Whoever, whatever, whenever, whoever, whatever, wherever, whenever, however, always, and never. Inclusives are ever words. If you see the word, a word that includes the word ever, your spider sense should be tingling. That's an inclusive, and we translate inclusives in one very simple way. And we'll get to that in just a moment. So our original sample problem was this. You should do whatever I say. Does that sound to you like a particular or a universal? A universal. Not some of the things. Whatever they say you should do. Does that sound like a negative or an affirmative?
Affirmative.
It sounds like a universal affirmative. So we know what our first word is going to be, right? All. Okay? So what should we do with this? All, what are what? You should do whatever I say. Weaver?
All things I say are things that you should do.
Perfect. So we're going to take whatever and make it all things, and we're going to make it into an A statement. So you should do whatever I say, just like Weaver said. All things I say are things that you should do. Here's the one simple rule for translating inclusive statements. The words after the inclusive are the subject, and the rest of the sentence becomes the predicate. That's it. That's the only rule. So you take our statement, you should do whatever I say. Whatever is our inclusive word, which makes the subject, I say, and the predicate, you should do. And now what we have to do is add the right words to make this into a categorical statement. So we would say, all things I say are things that you should do. That's the only rule. When you see an inclusive, the word or phrase right after the inclusive is the subject, and the rest of the statement is the predicate. Okay? Simple enough, right? Let's do some more of these. Give me a second to finish writing. All right. How about this statement? Whenever your heart condemns you, God is greater than your heart. What is my inclusive word? You can just say it. Whenever. So what does that mean my subject has to be, or has to be made up of? Your heart condemns you. And what's my predicate? God is greater than your heart. Okay. Whenever your heart condemns you, does that sound like a universal or a particular? It's universal. Anytime, all times, every time, whenever your heart condemns you, God is greater than your heart. Does that sound like an affirmative or a negative? It's a universal affirmative. Now it says whenever. So what word do you think I should add to make this work? All what? All times. All times your heart condemns you are times that God is greater than your heart. Okay? That's all we did. We found our inclusive, whenever. Whatever comes immediately after is my subject, and what the rest of the statement is my predicate. And so we kind of massage this to come up with all times that your heart condemns you are times that God is greater than your heart. Okay, does that make sense?
Sir.
All right, a few more examples then. And again, just a side note, whenever it says whenever, that's usually going to mean all times, but it might mean all places. It's going to depend on the context. So how about this? A prize will be given to whoever translates this. Vale, what would that be? Give me the whole thing.
All people who translate this will be people who a prize will be given.
The predicate could be chopped down quite a bit, but you got the right idea. All translators of this will be prize winners. Okay? All translators of this will be prize winners. Yes? Do you have a question? Yeah. Wilder.
Whoever translates.
Are you asking a question?
Is
Are you? It's already been translated.
Oh, it's already been.
Yeah, right there on the screen. Yeah. Okay, Hannah.
I think Bill should win a prize.
Dude, but how shocking! And you probably would also think that Vale should share the prize with you since you brought it up. Yes. Shocking. All right. Wherever I go, they serve tea. What's this one? Weaver.
All places I go are places they serve tea.
Perfect. All places I go are places they serve tea. Now, why can't I say all places I go are tea servers? Bean?
Because that means the places are serving.
Yeah, it's like saying the restaurant gives you tea. No, the server, like that's a place the people gave you the tea. The restaurant does not beam down tea to your table. So we would say all places I go are places they serve tea. All right, a couple more. Children talk however their parents talk. Okay, now however, what's our helping word? We've seen all people, all places. Drake?
Always children's parents talk are ways that children talk.
Great. Always, instead of saying children's parents, I'm going to say their parents, but you and I are saying the same thing. All ways their parents talk are ways children talk. Okay, see what we did? We found our inclusive. However, we made this into our subject, a categorical statement. All ways their parents talk are ways children talk. Okay, so the one rule for translating inclusives is that you find the inclusive, whatever comes immediately after, that's your subject. The rest of the statement is your predicate. Okay, any questions about inclusives? Okay, a couple of notes about always statements. So again, you can use time. So it's always wrong to steal means all times are times it's wrong to steal. No, but be careful about this. This statement is a universal, right? It's always wrong to steal. We're saying for all people, all places, all times, it's always wrong to steal. But look at this statement. She always interrupts me. Now, if you said all times are times that she is interrupting me, what is the literal meaning of that sentence? Dale?
She can't interrupt you unless you're talking. Well,
according to that statement, according to this statement, how much am I talking?
All the time.
All the time.
24/7, 365. And in that case, she should interrupt me, right? If I literally never stop talking, she should interrupt me. So instead of saying all times are times, we would say all times that I am talking are times that she is interrupting me. Okay, you see the difference there? All times that I am talking are times that she's interrupting me. She doesn't interrupt me when I'm sleeping because I'm not talking when I'm sleeping or when I'm eating, I hope. All All right, never statement, kind of the same deal. He never ties his shoe. It might mean no times he wears shoes are times he ties his shoes. It could also mean no times are times he ties his shoes. Okay? So again, not a huge difference on that one, like the always, but just showing you some examples. Depends on what the speaker means. I will do what you say in this sentence. What is just a shorter version of the word whatever, right? So if they don't say ever, they're still making an inclusive statement. I will do what you say is the same thing as saying I will do whatever you say, okay? And that holds true for words like where, okay? Where you go, I will go. That's the same thing as saying wherever, okay? Who you talk to, I will talk to. Whomever, okay? When you go, I will go. Whenever you go, so on and so forth. So don't be thrown off if it doesn't have the word ever at the end of it. That can also function as an inclusive. All's well, that ends well is saying that equals whatever. Okay, that equals whatever. All things that end are things that end well. Okay, any questions about inclusives? We move on to exclusives. One rule for translating exclusives, which I will put up here on the board. It's the exact opposite as the inclusive rule. In the inclusive, what came after the inclusive was the subject. And in exclusive, what comes after the exclusive is the predicate. That's it. That's the only rule. Okay? So exclusives are words that set boundaries, referring to a limited class of things. So words like only, unless, and except. So take the statement, only Italians can cook. The speaker is not saying all Italians are people who can cook. The speaker is saying all people who can cook are Italians. So you find the exclusive term, only, the word or phrase that comes after it, Italians, is my predicate. The rest of the statement becomes my subject. All people who can cook are Italians. It's not necessarily true, although pretty close to true, because Italian food is the absolute best. Okay. All right, again, we're going to do some examples here, but do we have something between inclusive and exclusive? Inclusives are words that sort of broaden the range. I'm talking about the whole category, whoever, whatever, whenever, wherever. Exclusives are words that set limits, only, unless, except, so on and so forth. And an inclusive, the word after the inclusive is the subject, and an exclusive, the words after the exclusive are the predicate. Okay? And now you notice these have basically all been translated as universals, right? These are all alls or nos. Do a couple of examples. Nobody but Americans can make French fries. So nobody but equals only, right? If I say nobody but Jedediah can go outside, I'm saying only Jedediah can go outside. So we're going to say all people who can make French fries are Americans. Okay, again, nobody but is our exclusive word. Americans is our predicate. Can make French fries is our subject. All people who can make French fries are Americans. Yeah, good Jedediah. Okay. Let me give you one more. The original statement is everyone went to the party except the Montagues. So I'm going to give you two options here. No Montagues were party attenders. All non-Montagues were party attenders. Someone who hasn't answered yet today, which one do you think it is? Sally?
All non-Montagues were party.
Okay, Sally, if this was literally true,
Oh, that doesn't.
how many people went to the party? Everybody except the Montagues. Everybody on the planet, apparently. So this party had 8 billion people minus the Montagues. What is the first statement saying?
None of the Montagues.
Yeah, however people went to the party. Could have been 2 people, could have been 2,000 people. No Montagues were there. Okay? So we would go with no Montagues. Now notice, it's still a universal, but in this case, it's a universal negative. Yeah, that is very true. All non-Montagues were party attenders. Maybe the Montagues were party attenders too. So that's so true. I didn't even think about that, Sally. Good call. All right, any questions about inclusive and exclusive statements? All right, your homework is 10 problems. And they're all the exact same instructions. So we're going to do the first one together, and then you have the rest of class to work on it. Yes.
Go back like last grade.
To end the exclusive statements.
All right. So take one of these, pass it back. We'll do the first one together.
Do you ever check if we take an ASAP?
No, I can tell by your grades.
Wait, what can you tell by?
If we're taking those.
And ask, do you check if you take notes? So I can tell by your grades.
Oh,
Yeah, we're big
So
right
I
now.
All right, friends, listen to me. Listen to me. So, for homework tonight, your problems are additional exercises for lesson 29, 1 through 8, and then exercise 30, numbers 4 and 5. That's a total of 10 problems. They all have the exact same instructions, and we're going to do number 1 together here in class, leaving you with 9 problems with the exact same instructions. So,
You do it in pencil.
and you absolutely do it.
Oh, I always did it too.
All right. So let's look at number 1 together. All right, number 1, the instructions say, translate the following arguments into standard categorical syllogisms and determine their validity. Number 1, whatever is undeserved is unjust. Therefore, giving extra credit is not just, since giving extra credit is undeserved. All right, so let's look at this. What is my conclusion? Sam. Giving extra credit is not just. Okay? Can you make that into a categorical statement for me, Sam?
No, Just Act is a giving extra credit act.
Okay, what is the subject of that statement?
Just Act.
Mm-hmm.
Oh wait. Oh, giving extra credit.
Giving extra credit has to be our subject.
So
okay.
no giving extra credit act is a Just Act.
Okay, so we're going to go with no giving extra credit. What was my predicate?
Just Act.
Is a just act. Okay,
That's valid.
okay. So what does that make my major term is just act, minor term giving extra credit? All right, what is my major premise? Jackson.
Whatever is undeserved is unjust.
Okay, so that is an inclusive. So can you give me my major premise in categorical form?
All undeserved things are unjust things.
Okay, let's change it slightly to match this, and let's say action. So Jackson, substitute the word action for things and say it to me one more time.
All undeserved actions are unjust actions.
All undeserved actions are unjust actions. Okay, so we might be seeing a problem here. What's our problem, Jackson?
Unjust is not the form that it is in the conclusion. It's not just in the conclusion.
Yeah. So I'm going to give you a little hint. We need to change our conclusion. We need to change our conclusion to make it unjust action. So what could I do to this E statement? I could take its what, Anna?
You could just.
I need immediate inference. Weaver?
Well, why can't you change the major premise to no?
Because I'm looking at the answer key and I want to tell you to change the conclusion. Okay. Vale?
You take the obverse.
Take the obverse, and so it would be what?
All giving extra credit is
Not.
unjust.
Yeah. All giving extra credit is a not unjust, and therefore we can just say just. All giving extra credit is an unjust action. Okay? We changed the quality from all to no. We negated the predicate from just action to unjust action. So the conclusion is now all giving extra credit is an unjust action. And now our minor premise is right. all undeserved actions are unjust actions. So our major premise, what about our minor premise now? Dean?
Giving extra credit is undeserved, so it's all,
Yeah?
it's, all things that give extra credit.
Look at, I've got my minor premise.
All giving extra credit are, undeserved actions.
Okay? Are undeserved actions. Now let's analyze this for validity.
Good talk.
Spoiler alert, geez Louise. What's my middle term? What's the middle term?
Undeserved.
Undeserved actions, is it distributed?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, do I need distributed terms in the conclusion?
Yes.
Giving extra credit, is it distributed?
Yes.
Do I have two negative premises?
No.
Do I have an affirmative conclusion?
Yes.
Do I have any negative premises?
No.
So it is
Just.
valid. It is valid. Not saying it's true, saying it's valid.
don't believe it.
Okay, Hannah?
Do you believe this?
No,
Do you
it's valid,
agree
but
with this?
unsound.
Well, here's what I'll tell you. We're asking the wrong question. So Jesus tells a parable where he goes out and he hires a bunch of people at like 6 a.m. to come work in the field all day long. He says, if you come work in the field, I'll give you a denarius. And they do. And then he goes out and hires people at 9 a.m., at noon, at 3 p.m., and then he hires a bunch of dudes at like 5:30. And they work half an hour. So he calls the people who've been there the shortest time, the 5:30 dudes, and he gives them a denarius. And then he calls the 3 o'clock people, gives them a denarius, and the noon people, and the 9 people. So the dudes who've been working for 12 hours think, okay, well, if all those dudes got a denarius, we must be getting something more. And Jesus gives them a denarius. And they start to complain. And they say, that's not fair. And he says, I'm sorry, didn't we agree for a denarius? And isn't my money, and I can do whatever I want with it? So the question is not, is giving extra credit unjust? The question is, does a teacher have the right to give extra credit? The answer is yes. The justness or unjustness of it doesn't really come into account. I can give extra credit. I've been given that authority by my principal. I can give extra credit. The justness or injustice of it doesn't really come into play. Okay? Yes?
Wait, wasn't it like another guy in the parable that gave them the money?
It is another guy, but Jesus is telling the parable saying that's what the kingdom of God is like. It's a place of radical generosity, shocking generosity. Not about justice. Because as has been said before, guys, if you want perfect justice where everyone gets exactly what they deserve, go to hell. That's the only place in the universe where people are getting exactly what they deserve. We don't want to get what we deserve. We want generosity. So, yes. All right, that's your homework.